Time for number 40 to 31. Hey there, Brew Crew. Welcome back to my Top 100. This week we've got a few new games on the list that I'm pretty excited to talk about, so let's get started.
40.
Number 40 is Ready, Set, Bet. This is a super frantic, fast-paced betting game where you're all going to be betting on a horse race in real time. This is my one exception to the no real-time competitive rule. This is a game from John D. Clare, who's been climbing up my list of favorite game designers lately because of his creative interpretations of familiar ideas. The race can be run either by a player who controls the dice and calls out the race as they go, or there's also a very good app that will run the race for you. I've played both ways, and I think both work really well and are equally as fun in my opinion. Once the race starts, players will place bids. They'll bet on horses to win, place, or show, or you can make one of several side bets that will be randomized for each game. It's super exciting because as soon as the race starts, people are standing up and shouting and throwing down chips, trying to get their bets in before everyone else does. As soon as the race is over, then you pay out on the winning bets and get ready to go again. You're going to be betting on 4 different races, and at the end of the 4th race, the player with the most money is the winner. What I love about this game is that it's not technically a party game, but it definitely feels like a party game. It plays a lot of people. People are standing up and cheering and trying to put down their bets first, and there's just a ton of laughter, and it all happens kind of naturally as you're playing. So I definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't yet.
39.
Number 39 is Discworld Ankh-Morpork. Now I have to admit, and this might get me in trouble, but I've never read any of the Discworld novels by Terry Pratchett, although I suspect that I would like them. But that hasn't hurt my enjoyment of this game at all. This is a game that was recommended to me by friends, and once I finally had a chance to play it, I had to track it down. Unfortunately, it was pretty hard to find at the time, but I did manage to snag a used copy while at Gen Con. Of course, immediately after that, they announced Nanty Narking, which is the same game with a Charles Dickens theme rather than a Discworld theme. But considering the fact that Nanty Narking went to Kickstarter, so the price was pretty high, and the fact that despite never reading it, I prefer the Discworld setting, I don't regret my purchase at all. There are a few things that I love about this game. One is the simplicity. On your turn, you're basically going to just play a card and do what it says. These cards are going to let you place or remove influence around the city, or any number of other actions. But the second thing that I love about this game, in fact, probably my favorite thing about this game, is that everyone at the beginning will draw a secret roll which will tell them what their victory condition is. So you might be playing an area control style game, or you might be trying to cycle through the deck of cards, or just make a lot of money. You're trying to be sneaky about it though, so nobody can pinpoint exactly what your goals are, or they'll shut you down. It's such a fun, easy playing game from Martin Wallace, who's one of my favorite designers.
38.
My number 38 is Biblios. This is one of my favorite filler games, and one that I'll often want to break out if we only have a short time to get a game in. I suppose there's a theme here of being monks collecting or transcribing books or something, but the theme is paper thin on this one and really not important to the gameplay at all. And the gameplay is fantastic. The game plays in 2 phases. In the first phase, you're going to draw cards from a deck. You're going to draw 1 more than the number of players. You'll pick 1 to keep, 1 to place face down in a new stack, and the rest will be drafted by the other players. Most of the cards will have a certain color and number on them, which you're going to try to collect the highest value for at the end of the game. Some of the cards will have different values of money on them, which you'll use in the second phase of the game to bid on the cards that were set aside. And then there are some special cards that will let you manipulate the different dice. There are 5 colored dice for each of the 5 colors of cards, and the value on the die will determine the points for having the majority of that color card at the end of the game. The second half of the game is the players bidding for the cards that were set aside in that stack. There are some special rules that go along with this bidding as well, but essentially at the end of the game you'll tally up majorities for each color of cards and claim the die and the points based on its value. Whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. It plays super fast, but there's a lot of great decisions to be made in that short amount of time, so it really condenses that fun factor. I looked at the reprint and the dice game version, and I'm pretty happy to stick with the version that I already own, but if anyone else has played them, let me know what you think.
37.
Number 37 is Ark Nova. This is a game that's really skyrocketed in popularity since it's been released, and I can definitely understand why. There are a lot of things going on in this game. Lots of different mechanisms and concepts pulled from other games that I really like and put into this one game. There's the card tableau building from games like Terraforming Mars or Earth. There's a worker placement aspect. There's tracks to move up. And there's an overlapping scoring mechanism like Rajas of the Ganges. Without a doubt though, my favorite thing about this game is the card action selection mechanism. I've only seen this used in one other game, Civilization: A New Dawn, and while I liked that game as well, it wasn't nearly as engaging to me as Ark Nova. This action selection system gives players a row of cards. Each card has a power, and each position in the row has a power level. When you choose an action, you will activate that card at the power level that it's located and then move it to the lowest power space and shift all the other cards up. This creates such a cool puzzle. You want to try to specialize in something, but if you keep spamming the same action card, you can only do the most basic action at the most basic power. There's some cards that you may be able to put into your tableau though that will let you manipulate the card row. There are just so many options for paths to take, and there are so many freaking cards in this game that you're going to get a lot of different combinations with each play. Each time I play, I think I've focused on a different animal type just to see how it goes. I know that one play I had only apes and monkeys in my zoo. I love that sandboxy feeling of being able to create whatever type of zoo you want. Plus, I think that the overlapping scoring mechanism makes a lot of thematic sense in this game. You're trying to balance the attractiveness and profitability of your zoo with your increased conservation efforts and getting animals back out into the wild where they belong. We just picked up the Marine World expansion, and I'm incredibly excited to give that a try because I've heard some really great things.
36.
Number 36 is a brand new game this year, and that's Expeditions from Stonemaier Games. This is a sequel to their super popular game Scythe, and is set in the same world several years after the events of Scythe. Meteorites have hit the Earth near Tunguska, and you and all the other players are setting out to explore the region. This game adds in an element of the supernatural as well, and you'll have to fight against the corruption that's been awakened by these meteorites. Following up Scythe was not going to be an easy task. It's a very well-loved game by a lot of folks. I think they did a great job with this game though, making it look and feel like Scythe without having it be a Scythe reiteration. This game focuses a lot on exploration as opposed to Scythe's focus on resource management. You'll still be gathering resources, but those resources will come in the form of workers needed to activate cards and card powers, or strength and guile needed to fight corruption. You're going to move around a map of hex tiles and try to complete missions, upgrade your mech, harness the power of the meteorites. These things will allow you to take a boast action, which in a carryover from Scythe will allow you to put a star out on the board, getting you one step closer to endgame. Also similar to Scythe is the fact that you will play as a certain faction with your own unique mech that will give you special abilities right out of the gate. I've been pretty hit or miss on Stonemaier Games over the last few years, but this was a great year for them in my opinion. I also played Apiary after making this list, and while I'm not sure it would crack my top 100, that was another amazing game from Stonemaier that I really enjoyed playing.
35.
Oh boy, back-to-back Stonemaier games this week.
He's just a spineless fanboy. No offense.
My number 35 is Viticulture Essential Edition. We've had this game in our collection for a long time, and it's still one of my favorite worker placement games of all time, especially when you add in the Tuscany expansion. I love what the Tuscany Essential Edition adds, especially the new board. A huge reason I love this game so much is that each round is divided up into seasons and you only have so many workers available for the entire round. So you have to really plan your strategy each round. If you use too many workers in the summer, you may not have enough workers to do what you need to do in the winter. This is such a great concept. Every decision feels incredibly important. Plus, all the different visitor cards that you can get to play in the different seasons can make the game feel very different from play to play. I've never really considered before what my favorite theme in gaming is, but I would guess that fermentation and alcohol production is pretty high on that list. I find the whole process really interesting, and I've even dabbled a little bit in making my own mead, which is a honey-based alcoholic beverage. There are actually a few more games themed around making alcohol or feature it prominently in some way higher on this list, which I guess is not surprising for Beer City board games.
34.
Number 34 is San Juan. I had Race for the Galaxy lower on the list, and while I really enjoy that game, there's just something about the simplicity of San Juan that really raises it up for me. It's very similar gameplay to Race, but removes all of the confusing iconography and simplifies the action selection and puts a Puerto Rico, the card game theme on it. Just like in Race, you'll use your cards from your hand to pay to place cards in front of you. Your cards are your buildings, your currency, and your resources. Each round players will draft actions, and everyone will be able to take the action with the person who drafted the action getting an added benefit. I love how your engine evolves in this game a lot, and it's always so satisfying to be able to draw up a ton of cards as either money or resources. Plus, the more cards that you're able to get into your hand, the more options you'll have to build an even better engine. I've heard a few folks debate whether they prefer Race or San Juan better, and I know that probably a majority of people will like the more robust gameplay of Race, but for me, the ease with which I can get San Juan to the table really is what pushes it to the front. Although with Race being at number 49, they really aren't that far apart in the grand scheme of things. And yeah, I have played Roll for the Galaxy too, but that one just wasn't for me.
33.
Number 33 is Bruges, another Stefan Feld masterpiece. And unlike my Race versus San Juan debate, I have played both Bruges and the new Cities Collection Hamburg, which is the Queen Games reprint, and honestly, I like them both a lot. There are a couple of minor changes that I think were a very good idea that they implemented in Hamburg, like having more control over the cards that you draw. But at the same time, I also like the excitement in Bruges of drawing the cards from the stack and seeing if you were able to get what you need, or something that you could at least use. Ultimately, I've played Bruges more than Hamburg at this point, which is the main reason why that's on the list and the other one isn't. This is another great example of a game that uses multi-use cards though. On your turn, you're going to have to decide which card you'll play and what you'll use it for. You can use them to get money, workers, build a building, or hire special characters with unique powers. Like a lot of earlier Feld games, this one can sometimes be pretty punishing. Each round you'll roll dice to determine the strengths of actions to be taken for the round, but depending on what's rolled on the dice, players will gain catastrophe tokens. If you collect 3 of a single catastrophe type, you're going to suffer a pretty significant setback. So it's usually a good idea to keep an eye on those.
32.
My number 32 is one of the first 2-player only games that we purchased, and it's still one of my favorites, and that's Jaipur. This is a wonderfully simple hand management game where you're going to be either taking or trading goods from the market row, selling the goods, money equals points in this game, or taking all of the camel cards from the row. You've got a strict hand limit, but the camel cards are placed in front of you and don't count towards your hand limit. And they can still be traded for market goods, which makes for a great balancing act. Another great thing about this game is that you get money for selling off sets of cards, but you also get bonus cash for selling off larger sets of cards. So you have to decide between selling stuff now for the quick points or hanging on to it and hoping to get that big payoff later, assuming you have the time to do that. This is definitely my most played 2-player only game, and I would say it's also my favorite true 2-player only game, although there's one game higher on the list that I consider a 2-player only game. I'm not sure if everybody agrees. It's so quick and so easy to get to the table, and we usually play a few games of this back to back.
31.
And my last game for this week, my number 31, is Five Tribes. This is a game that's been a favorite of ours for a very long time, and it's definitely seen a resurgence lately because we've taught some friends how to play, and they really enjoyed it too. This game uses a Mancala style mechanism where you will pick up all of the meeples on a tile and then drop them off one tile at a time until you land on another tile with a meeple that matches the color of the meeple you're dropping off. You can claim all of the meeples of that color, and that will determine what type of action you're able to take. Plus, if you're able to completely clear off a tile, you can put one of your camel markers down on the tile, which will help you score extra points from the tile. There are a ton of different strategies and ways to get points in this game, and they all feel pretty valid. I've done well in this game by controlling tiles, by collecting goods cards, which will give you points for having more unique goods, or by gaining a bunch of Jinn cards, which will give you both points and special powers that you can combo together to become pretty unstoppable. I love a game that gives me that kind of freedom to choose which strategy I want to try that day and still feel like I got a shot at winning. Our last couple of plays have included the Whims of the Sultan expansion, which I really like because it adds some new tiles, new Jinns, and the Whims of the Sultan cards that will provide you some points for completing the objectives on them. It's a great expansion, and I think it's just going to be standard in our plays of Five Tribes going forward. All right, everyone, that's it for my 40 to 31. We're getting very close to the end of this series now. There's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. Let me know in the comments which of these games is your favorite or which one you'd like to play someday. And while you're at it, go ahead and click the like and subscribe buttons so you don't miss when the next video in the series comes out. And until next time, let's get another round for the table.